Nick Allard.
It's 46 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. KIRO Radio 97.3 FM. News and talk, powered by the Pacific Northwest.
Look at it. Oh, yes. Over the camera here, it throws the show off a little bit. I know Tom's trying to get in the door. Tommy, get in. Tom! Jacob, can you call him? He's in the other room. I need him to come through and get in here.
Oh, all right.
I don't hear you.
Tom?
Louder, like you care.
Tom?
There you go. See? Hey, Tom, how are you?
Sorry, I'm still dragging from that Dragons game. We fumbled on the 3.5-yard line.
You got big plans for that team.
Oh, we do. Good. I need my spirits to be picked up.
I can't talk about it until Jacob secures these things.
I see.
Right? Get on it right away. We got big plans. By the way, we are going to go behind enemy lines. If you never heard the show before, 9 to noon we were on. We started this thing. We would call the guy in the other town of the team we're playing.
The
get
Seahawks.
Him on the phone. Seahawks who we're playing. Seahawks going to play whatever, and we get him on the phone. It was always fun. We'd ask him a couple questions. We're doing that on Friday.
Before the first big home game,
we got big
the
plans.
Seattle Dragons.
I already got my tickets.
You do,
yeah,
huh?
I'm 6 rows back from the 40.
Wow.
If Seahawks tickets, that would be like $2,400 a ticket.
You got them for $6.
130.
130. Wow.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
Mr. Moneybags.
Oh, we already dove in, John. Sorry. I can get that back for you.
No, that explains why I'm all wet. I just wasn't sure if I was wet before I got here or afterwards.
So are you in midair right now?
I don't know where the hell
You
I am.
in midair.
All right.
Send in the clowns.
Sorry, welcome.
Okay, welcome to the show.
Welcome back. Ready, Sean, thank you.
It feels like a Friday.
Tom, you've been drinking? Honestly. No.
That was me, John.
Here we go. The new coronavirus spreads, and another epidemic looms. Yellow peril. That's what they're calling it. Racism. One writer from the Seattle Times talks about it, and with the headline being, after an unexpected December trip to China, a woman returns home, and she finds a disturbing note from the manager on her condo door. What does the note say, Tom?
So basically, she was confronted by him. This is a Renton woman at her condo, and he said that she should leave her home and be quarantined. Mm-hmm. Nothing happened. She says, I don't have the disease, and I'm not under any kind of quarantine. But flyers started appearing in their condo entryway anyway from condo management, warning people about a virus quarantine and alerting residents to a possible virus infection. Uh-huh. This is Naomi Shisaka, who is the new relatively new Seattle Times columnist, is making that an example of a number of cases that are happening here and across America, where we are in danger of, in effect, reviving this old idea of the yellow peril, that somehow Asian Americans might be of some danger to the rest of, the God-fearing citizens of America. And she says, this is very dangerous. We've got to make sure we're not do that. She cites a number of instances. For instance, in the Issaquah Costco, there was a Chinese man who was wearing a mask, and the Issaquah Costco worker refused to
let him have the samples.
Yes.
Was it a kid or a man?
Because it was an Asian American son.
Okay.
Who had that and stuff. And so the companies apologized. But the danger is that we are all thinking, okay, good. This is something we need to be careful about. We need to be aware we're washing our hands extra, number of times. But there is this inadvertent kind of racism that comes out because anybody who looks Asian, that, I've got to be extra careful with you. And Naomi's article here is just saying, we have to be careful about this because this actually can backfire.
I don't think it's racism.
Well, it's if you see racism as just a quick shorthand to be concerned about something, anybody, and there are a lot of Americans that can't tell the difference between a Chinese person, a Japanese person, a Korean person, so they just lump all Asians together, and if all the Asians are together, they all must be carrying this coronavirus. There's only one person in this entire state who has had it, and he's already been released. It's not that prevalent, but it's a concern she has. And the danger is public health, local danger from the local health officials says that if people really are being treated that way, there's a kind of stigma that's involved, and less likely people will be to seek treatment, which actually could foster the spread of the disease. That's why public health, King County and Seattle health officials came out and says, listen, this is viruses don't discriminate.
I don't go with the idea of the racism. There's a book I'm halfway through, Predictably Irrational, and it talks about stereotyping. And the reason the brain stereotypes is because it doesn't have time to relearn over and over again. So it wants to be able to make an assessment of a situation quickly. It says, oh, you've been here before, or you've seen this before, and therefore this, and this will most likely happen because of this, and this. So that you then go into almost most situations with sort of a set list of experiences that you've had, right?
That's right.
Like you said, Tom, in the
perfect
pre-show
sense.
meeting, and I don't mind to out you here. Talked about pit bulls. You don't like pit bulls. Okay.
That's nothing to do with this.
It says.
Okay.
So somebody's, I don't pit bull.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have pit bulls. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so unfair that you make that snap judgment about pit bulls. And I said, I got to tell you something. Every time I see anything on television or whatever, it's a guy who's got a pit bull who's eating some kid's arm off.
That's right.
Right? And
Pit
I
bulls,
look at your pit bull, and your pit bull looks really, really nasty because your pit bull's eyes and its ears and its head, and I am predisposed to believe that your dog is going to, if anything, he'll lick you to death.
Yeah.
That's after he eats your arm off.
That's
So,
right.
that's-
Well, there
no,
are
seriously.
stats. There are statistics
I got it.
about pit bulls.
I got it. Right.
But
So you
John Stewart
react.
has a pit bull. Yeah,
does?
John Stewart has a pit bull. He says, he's the most loving thing around.
Okay.
But
we go into situations, and if somebody has a mask on, yesterday I took
That's
Rye
right.
over to the Overlake emergency room,
Yeah.
and there were like 7 people in there with masks on,
Yeah.
and you couldn't help but go, oh, God, I'm not touching what that guy touched.
Yeah.
And they were not Chinese or Korean. They're all just American folks sitting there or American-looking,
Yes, I know.
Irish,
I know.
Italian, or
Watch it.
whatever. Can't identify who they are.
Yeah.
Just guys, people from some Amish or Redmond. It's like, because they have the mask on, you are naturally, concerned. That's all. Now, most of the time,
Yes.
they're wearing the mask for their own protection,
Yes.
right? Assuming.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. What do we assume? I assume when someone's wearing it that they are the ones who have the compromised. They can't afford to pick up something from somebody else rather than they're carrying it.
Yes.
And so because of that, I don't look at them as possible, I've got to stay away from them. I said they're probably cleaner than or safer, healthier than the
But
rest
they had
of
a
us.
big sign right there saying, if you have a fever or if you have been coughing, please take one of these masks
At
and
the
clean
hospital.
your hands. At these
yeah.
emergency
Absolutely.
things. So they just want you to, for everybody else's
Yes.
sake. That's all.
Well, I know, but what we're talking about here in Naomi's article is examples of people that are being kind of hassled because of how they look.
Yeah, I understand, but
and
it's
it's not-
because the person goes to China and comes back
Yes.
and is now in here. Does the person who went to China have a higher risk of being contagious than a person who went to the Tulalip casino and came back? Probably the person who went to China has a higher risk, correct?
Well, we're talking about it could be minuscule
Doesn't
risk.
matter.
This
Doesn't
is,
matter.
Well, no,
If
it
somebody,
does.
No, yes,
If it's 1 in a billion and 1 in 2 billion,
Yes.
I'm not sure that kind of distinction matters.
but I don't think you're getting into the billions. I'm just saying if
Okay.
you've traveled to China, it's the same
Yeah.
way that we went ahead and quarantined, and we said we're going to have 2 flights, because this is about a week ago.
Yeah.
2 more American flights are coming in to China to take you
Yes.
out of China if you want to come in.
That's
the
right.
State Department will fly
But they
you
have
out.
to be tested. Now, in this particular case, you shouldn't have. I can understand a manager who's managing an outlet saying, "Okay, listen, I understand you just went to China. Where did you go? Have you been tested? Do we know?" Just so I can illustrate, the concerns that we're taking here could sort of facilitate people that might have concerns or questions. What do we know, and what can I do to help? Instead, it sounds like they just put up these sort of scare tactics where she's getting lectured. Again, this is third-hand information because it's Naomi talked to this person, Naomi Ishizaka, and now she's writing it about for us.
Yeah.
Whether that's a fair or not characterization, but the danger is that, anybody who looks Asian suddenly looks suspicious. She wasn't wearing a mask or anything.
Okay.
And the same thing happened in Issaquah. It's just something to be aware of. I don't think there'd be the problem if someone said, hey, I just got back from that very province, and I'm concerned myself and have been tested out and everything's fine, that's the way to handle it.
She writes, many, if not all, Asian Americans I know have experienced the harm of being treated as a perpetual foreigner in our country.
Okay, well, I don't know how many Asian Americans you know. I know a number of them, and they've all experienced a kind of discrimination or just seeing a sense of being the other. And that's what she's talking about. This is just ramping that up. No, I don't think anyone thinks yellow peril is in strong force right now, but
they are one of the smallest minorities in the country. They're only 5.4% of the U.S. population is Asian. In a recent poll by Pew, Asians say Asians have the highest income, they have the best education, they're most satisfied with their life. 74% are born abroad and now live here. And most of the values that they have are fairly sort of old-time traditional values that are not necessarily passed down to the next generation of an American born here in America. High value on education, high value on marriage, high value on integrity, high value as well, and this way outside of the norm. And if you talk to somebody born in this country, 2 or 3 generations living in the same house. So the respect for elders and the culture that they have taken with them from Asia, since 74% are foreign born, and brought here to America, sort of sets them slightly apart from now just the average American culture of, hey, grandma lives in the house or lives in a home, a nursing home. She's not with us, grandpa. And it's just a little different. They're a little slightly askew from what has become new, quote-unquote, American
That's
culture.
right, but that doesn't protect them from a flood of racist comments on social media, and apparently this is, sponsoring this. Right now, and there's a discrimination against Asian French in France, John, so it's not just here, creation.
France is one of them.
Je ne suis pas un virus, or virus. I am not a virus. So
that should not be
they're
news
dealing
that
with it
they're
right
racist
around.
in France. Barr offers...
It says it's news. It's concern. What I'm trying to say is that it's a worldwide concern that we don't suddenly now look at anything Asian and be afraid of it, as it's going to be a threat to our health.
How many people are now have it? What they say, is it up to... But over 800 and some have died, more than with the SARS, correct?
40,000 people have been affected, and now it killed more people than SARS. But as they mentioned, the flu has killed 8,000 people so far this season. 8,000.
There's just, you take precautions. You ever given blood?
Yes.
And they ask you like 10 questions before they stick the needle in you. And they want to know, have you traveled outside the country recently? Where have you gone? Have you done this and this? And they ask you all this stuff and behavior choices that you've made, sometimes sexual, other things having to do with needles and syringes and unprotected sex and a whole bunch of other stuff. They can fire through all the questions, and then they determine whether or not they're going to take their blood. Why do they ask those questions, Tom? Are they discriminating against me?
I think that they want to establish that there are no concerns they have from people who visited certain areas. Yes, John, I don't think there's any problem. No. I think it could be if we just make this quick stereotype assumption. Now, anybody who flies out of Hunan province is getting tested on the way, leaving and when they're arriving. That all makes perfect sense.
Okay, good. Let's see. We're talking about, you get information from Rudy Giuliani. What are you supposed to do about it? So William Barr offers some skepticism on Giuliani's offers about the Bidens. Do we have this in here? Oh, here it is, in Ukraine. All right. So this is over the weekend. Senator Lindsey Graham says that Bill Barr is taking information from Rudy regarding his investigation of Joe Biden. All right.
Has the Department of Justice been ordered to investigate the Bidens?
No, the Department of Justice is receiving information coming out of the Ukraine from Rudy.
Already?
To see, he told me that they have created a process that Rudy could give information and they would see if it's verified. Rudy Giuliani is a well-known man. He's a crime fighter. He's loyal to the president. He's a good lawyer.
All right.
Okay. So Lindsey Graham is carrying Trump's water on this one, and he's saying that this is what's happening. Giuliani's doing all this work for the Department of Justice, and so Barr's saying, wait a minute, Lindsey, this is looking a little, we don't want to look like we're in cahoots with Giuliani. So I assume we have a sound from Barr saying, okay, wait a minute.
Listen, so Rudy's bringing all this stuff back, and it's somebody's job to vet it. That's all.
The DOJ has the obligation to have an open door to anybody who wishes to provide us information that they think is relevant. But as I did say to Senator Graham, we have to be very careful with respect to any information coming from the Ukraine. There are a lot of agendas in the Ukraine. There are a lot of cross currents, and we can't take anything we receive from the Ukraine at face value. And for that reason, we had established an intake process in the field so that any information coming in about Ukraine could be carefully scrutinized by the department and its intelligence community partners so that we could assess its provenance and its credibility.
Okay.
I think what Barr's trying to do is that he realizes that the entire Trump administration the Justice Department is looking like it's all in cahoots with Rudy Giuliani, and I think he's trying to create some distance so it doesn't look like this is a government investigation of the Bidens.
I see. In cahoots with Rudy?
Yes. In other words, that Donald Trump is using them all as puppets. Like Donald Trump is controlling the Justice Department, Donald Trump is controlling Giuliani, and they're all working together in cahoots to try to get something on Biden. Yep. And I think what Barr's trying to do is try to say, no. Listen, that's Giuliani's business, and he wants to give us anything he can, but it's all sort of on the up and up. We are not doing this investigation.
So in a statement on Wednesday, Senator Chuck Grassley, Senator Ron Johnson said, quote, request Hunter Biden's official travel records from the U.S. Secret Service as part of their ongoing probe into potential conflicts of interest. Yeah. Here's Biden referring. His first time has just been on a CBS morning show. Here he goes.
I expect Trump to do the same exact thing he's been doing. Why has he been attacking me from the beginning? Why did he risk, and he should have been impeached, why did he risk getting convicted by going to a foreign leader to say, you don't have to give me anything on Biden, there's nothing to get, just tell me that you're going to investigate him so I can hurt him. Have you ever seen a sitting president as concerned about a single nominee and trying to stop a nominee?
Do you think your son is fair game?
Yeah, Obama and Hillary. All right. Did the best they could to try to stop Donald Trump. Got those FISA courts. Let's get in there and investigate this guy. Let's try to do what we can to get rid of him.
This is a Republican-oriented FBI that did that. And there was legitimate reasons. In fact, even the big investigation of that said, yes, that should be done.
They lied to the FISA court 17 times. Let's check traffic.
No. On a minor issue.
Yep,
about
17
Carter
times
Page.
They just see the FISA court. Look at this, Tracy Taylor. She's working. You don't have anybody to work the blinds for you?
Nope, sorry, I do my own stunts. Thanks.
She whiz. You see that, Tom? She's doing labor, and she got the thing going. The lines are down. She can't see her screen.
Couldn't see anything.
I'm busier trying to correct your record.
17 times lying to the FISA court. Tracy!
Yeah! Northbound I-5 MLK Junior Way, there's a crash.